Well, as you probably know by now, the big news overnight was not about politics. It was not about, Romney and Obama at all. In fact, it was about Lance Armstrong. And joining us on the phone right now is Bob Weiner from from D.C., and we're not going to talk about politics today, Bob.
Yes, Lance said that only in legitimate cases of drug use would he really be caught because.
And by the way, I want to set up your credentials here. You have run track in high school. You compete as a master. You got a bronze and made All-American in the steeplechase at this month's USA Masters Track and Field Championships in Illinois. You have been active in.
Those are my credentials. Oops.
Well, no. I mean, I'm just telling people that you were an avid runner. I watched you run on the beach when we were up in New Jersey. You are also the former White House drug policy spokesman and former, how do you say this, WADA?
World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, and USADA, U.S. Anti-Doping Agency. But, yes, I was the WADA spokesman for the Olympics right after I left the White House.
And may I just say, WADA spokesman you were. Thank you. I'm here all week, folks. So
I have my wonky side, David. I told you off mic, because I love doing your show. And, yes, I'm a National Democratic spokesman and worked in the Clinton White House and for Conyers, Rangel. Claude Pepper, Claude Pepper as his chief of staff for the House Aging Committee, Ned Koch. But I guess I'm the only guy in world history who has been the drug spokesman for both the White House and the Congress for 6.5 years in the White House, right? Under Clinton and the beginning of Bush, and in the Congress under Charlie Rangel. Now I have to hide under his name, given what he did.
Well, he got reelected, so you can chalk up a W for him. But let me ask you, you up until recently were willing to give Armstrong the benefit of the doubt, weren't you?
Yes.
Tell me what happened. What changed your other mind on this?
Well, just so listeners can know what the drill is. I put out a statement today. You're welcome to Google it, Robert Weiner, Lance Armstrong. It'll come right up. It's on PR Newswire and literally hundreds of sites across the country, and it's being picked up. I thought that Armstrong had what's called a TUE, a therapeutic use exemption, because of his cancer. He was on Larry King saying I didn't dope, and then in the same week he was on Bristol Myers Squibb's TV ad saying the drugs saved my life, and the drugs were EPO and steroids, which are the banned substances. So the only way you can do that is if you have a therapeutic use exemption. And I figured he had too stupid of a PR agent that wouldn't say, look, he's a hero for cancer, and had the legitimate medical waiver. It turns out he didn't. He was cheating. And now there are the 10 witnesses that came out, and the New York Times reported it, and WADA and USADA have interviewed them. And it's not a conspiracy of his teammates who are journalists. It's fact after fact after fact after fact of reputable witnesses that establish pattern and practice. And it's the corroborative evidence as opposed to the tests that he took masking agents to disguise, which is something rich athletes can do, that did him in the same as Marion Jones was done in by evidence and witnesses. And that's a new strategy that the world bodies are using, is evidence from others and corroborative witnesses, so that you can't end run the system with the masking agents.
Well, of course, because, nobody's going to knock themselves out, so it's going to be other people who are going to do it, right?
Well, the world agencies didn't figure that out for a long time, and they finally got around to it. And it's a terrific thing, which drives the athletes nuts. But what a wonderful message to children. This is a bad thing. I've told Dick Pound, the chairman of the World Anti-Doping Agency, the founder, and Frank Shorter, who's a friend of mine, a long time and just left chairman who's the Olympic gold medalist in the marathon. Speaking of Steve Johnson, your producer there who runs marathons. But Frank Shorter told me that, this is for our kids. This is to make the message that our kids know that they don't have to cheat to succeed, and that if you do cheat, you can get caught and will be embarrassed and thrown out of the sport.
And by the way,
that's what this message is today.
Cheating violates every single tenet of sportsmanship there is. I mean, sportsmanship is the antithesis of cheating. It is about doing it right, doing it fairly, doing it through your own wits and your own skill and your own strength. And the very fact that they cheat, it doesn't demean the sport so much as it demeans the person. And now he's been stripped of all of his Tour de France titles.
Well, maybe, Dave.
Well, I just heard
because
that
USADA, the U.S. anti-doping agency, says that he's stripped, doesn't mean he's stripped. The cycling world body has been the worst of all the world bodies. They've done a wink and a nod. Remember how many Tour de France, it's almost every Tour de France winner gets busted year after year. Tyler Hamilton and this one and that one. They've all been busted after they win the Tour de France. So it's been the cultural norm for those cycling bodies to accept that and wink and nod. Now they're being embarrassed by the surrounding world enforcement agencies, but they do not have to take the title away. And the debate today is, will cycling be pressured into removing Armstrong's titles? It has not happened yet.
Yeah, I was just going to say, but this could be the silver lining in all this, couldn't it? It could be enough of an embarrassment, and isn't it sad that we have to get to that point, that they will finally, put some policies together with some teeth in them and be consistent in the way they administer them?
Well, try professional sports. We have to get there, too. You know, Barry Bonds got out. He admitted using amphetamines. In the Olympics, he would have been thrown out for that admission alone.
Well, you know,
baseball, it was just accepted.
I have a theory about
basketball, hockey. They accept these things.
I like the idea of steroids in pro sports, and I think they should allow. And I'm being somewhat serious here. I think they should allow all pro athletes to use steroids at their own risk, and that there should be no government oversight, intervention, hearings, anything else on the subject, because really it's not government's business. And we ought to just let them have an all-steroid pro football league and an all-steroid baseball league. I think people don't you think they like to see?
Here I go with my good friend who I go to the beach with being a little bit vicious on this.
Well,
you must have missed the congressional hearings that showed the suicides that are testified to by the parents of the kids who use steroids, and that when Barry Bonds used steroids, steroid use quintupled among kids. And then when Bonds quit and announced he was quitting, his homers dropped from 70 to 30, and he became a little pale shadow with shriveled shoulders.
I was going to say, wasn't that funny?
And he dropped out of baseball.
Yeah, it looked like it looked like the stuntman they hired for him forgot to bulk up.
Right.
You know.
So don't think. And steroid creates enormous depression and medical problems and rage and all of those things. That's what steroids does. You got to be careful if you're talking to somebody who's bulked up on steroids, because they really are the wrestling personalities that allow them.
Obviously, I'm being somewhat facetious about that, but you're
okay. Now you took out the half and
well, I mean, you know, I had to try to play it for as long as I could. Bob, I'm out of time today, but I must applaud your passion on this subject, and I think it is a sad day for American sports, for cycling, and for those people who looked up to Armstrong as a role model, as a cancer survivor, for basically betraying everyone. And that's the thing. I
totally agree with you, Dave, and look forward to talking to you next from the Democratic National Convention, live from Charlotte.
I can't wait. It ought to be a lot of fun. We'll talk to you then. Thanks, Bob.
Great day. Take care.
Okay, Bob Weiner talking to us today from Washington on the Dave Elliott Show. It's 4:17. And when we come back, Mayor John Sorey will join us to talk about Tropical Storm Isaac. Don't go away.
You've got the Dave Elliott Show on 98.9 WGUF, Naples FM Talk.